a flyweight #1 contender fight, a flyweight title fight, and the lightweight debut of Ilia Tapora. We got a lot of good stuff coming for you, but who are going to be the picks?
Biggest UFC pay-per-view of the year, UFC 317. It's taking place this weekend at International Fight Week. And in this video, Josh and I are going to try to build the perfect DFS lineup for the event. And if you want to build the perfect lineup for yourself, here's the best way to do it. Sign up with the promo code 317 to either of our Sims packages, either the core or the max package, weekly or monthly, whichever you prefer. And you're going to get 50% off your subscription. And also, if you want a chance to win yourself a free subscription, leave a comment below. And here's what you're going to do. Just guess which fighter you believe is going to score the most fantasy points this weekend. Josh, I'm going to go through all the answers. We're going to find all the people who get the correct answer, and we're going to randomly pick one of you to win a free subscription. So leave a comment below and let us know who you think is going to score the most fantasy points. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and now let's build the perfect lineup. If you're looking to get a little bit contrarian in the mid-range, one fighter who I'm really eyeing, it's Brandon Royval taking on Joshua Van. Now, Van is one of the most bet on fighters heading into this weekend's card. There's been a ton of line movement in his favor, and as a result, he is projecting as a really good value play for DFS. He's the betting favorite, even though Brandon Royval $8,200, while Joshua Van is priced at $8K. But this is a massive, massive step up in competition for Van. The 23-year-old, he is now fighting for the 5th time in less than a year. And just about a year ago, he did get knocked out by Charles Johnson. So big step up in competition. We haven't seen him fight any top-ranked fighters in the UFC. And not only is Brandon Royval a top-ranked fighter, he is the #1 ranked fighter in the division. The winner of this fight is going to get themselves a title shot. And I'm just worried if this is a little bit too much too soon for Van. Now, don't get me wrong. I think this is a fight that in large field tournaments, it's worth getting exposure to both sides of. But with Van, expect to be one of the chalkiest fighters on the card and also stepping up in competition in a big way. I do like the leverage that we're getting on Brandon Royval just in the event that this is too much too soon for Van. And I do slightly favor Royval as the underdog in this fight.
I took a look through the card and there was one guy I had my eye on straight from the jump. And that's a guy making his lightweight debut. Give me Ilia Tapora, 9,300. Taking on Charles Oliveira. This should be a fantastic fight. I want to rely on our top fighters tool at least a little bit. He has the 2nd highest odds of a finish, only behind the completely broken, phony fight for Jacoby Smith and Nico Price. He's the 2nd highest odds of finishing in the top 6 scorers. He has the 2nd highest odds of being a 100-point scorer. Now, obviously, Ilia is going to want this fight to be on the feet. Charles is going to want this fight to be on the ground. Over their UFC careers, and I understand Ilia, different weight class, 73% of his fight time has been at distance, 27% on the ground. That is super flip-flop for Charles, 40% at distance, 60% on the ground. Now, that doesn't mean Ilia can't go to the ground. That obviously doesn't mean that Charles can't stay on his feet, but we know where these guys want to be. Now, Ilia has a much higher knockdown rate than Charles, but again, it's at a lower weight class. Is that power going to carry up? I tend to feel like it is. And the biggest part for me, honestly, is the age. Charles is 7 years older than Ilia Tapora. Do you know what was going on 7 years ago when Charles Oliveira was this age right now? I'll give you a hint. He was choking out Clay Guida about 2 weeks before where we are right now, coming off of 3 out of 4 losses, and 3 of those losses, all finishes. So he's obviously had a very different last 7 years, but I'm worried that eventually it's all going to catch up to him. And this is a guy that you can't have any breaks against. So it feels like if I'm spending up, the first guy I'm picking is Ilia Tapora.
If you're looking to save salary this weekend, my favorite overall value play on the slate, it's Kaikar France at $7,200, taking on Pantoja in the co-main event. And even though I do think that Pantoja is the rightful favorite, there aren't that many cheap options who I like to get down to save salary with. And there are a ton of pay-up options that I think look really strong for the card. We're going to have to save salary somewhere. And of all the cheap fighters, I do think that Kaikar France is one of the more likely ones to win, but also somebody who, if he should win, I think would put up a really big fantasy score. So Kaikar France has big power. And in Pantoja, you have a fighter who is now 35 years old, which historically, it's an age that you kind of start to see fighters decline, especially at the lighter weight classes. So 170 pounds and below in the men's division, Alexander Volkanovski early in the year became the first fighter ever to win a title fight at the age of 35 or higher. Now, that doesn't mean that that's just something we should always expect to happen. Fighters 35 or older just automatically lose in title fights, but it's a pretty good indication that more often than not, we should expect them to end up losing. And if you look at Pantoja's fight style, he's very reliant on his chin. Not a lot of head movement, takes a lot of punishment, but usually just marches through it, is able to really press his opponents, put on an immense amount of pressure, and just outwork them and either win by finish or just outwork them and more volume, more takedowns, kind of like the fight against Steve Erceg, and end up winning a decision. But eventually, the chin is going to crack for Pantoja, and Kaikar France is one of the hardest hitters that we have at the 125-pound division. So considering his price point and upside, I like rostering France to save some salary and open up the possibility to pay up for more studs in my lineups.
Now we get to have some fun. We're going to take those 3 picks, load them into the Stokastic single lineup simulator, and see if we can build an optimal lineup. I've loaded in Tapora, Royval, Kaikar France, so we have 3 spots remaining, and we can make it very easy. If you click complete this lineup, it will give you the optimal 3 plays to fit into the salary that you have. And when we do this, you can see that we end up paying all the way up for Jacoby Smith. We get Beneil Dariush as another 7K play, and we get Peyton Talbot as our other cheapie. But interesting balance here. We didn't have to get too crazy. And now we just get to see, what does this lineup actually look like? We click run lineup simulation and we get the details. And boy, oh boy, did we build a gem. 91% sim ROI, a 0.2% chance to win the contest, 3% chance of finishing in the top 10%, and a 57% cash rate. Now, maybe you don't like the plays that got added. Maybe you don't like our plays. You can mix and match and build lineups and sim lineups and save whatever you want, and you'll get all of the results here in the single lineup sim. But personally, I think you should take a look at this one, because I think we just built the perfect lineup.